Okay, so this video, I'm just going to show you guys where the study guide is for your critical reading semester test. I'm also going to go over just some of the answers on the study guide. I'm making this as simple as possible because the point of semester test is to help your grade, and I'm not out here trying to bring your grade even lower. So once you get into our class on Schoology, which you should know how to do that by now, you'll go down to the learning materials, you'll click on the December folder, and then week 2 is where I'm going to have it at. And here you go, right here, the Hunger Games Semester Test Study Guide. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and then it will pop up. It's a document, Windows document, so I'm just going to enlarge it here. Alright, so at the top I have the instructions. The questions below are what you need to study for your semester test. I will not put anything on the test that's not on this study guide. The test will be 50 multiple choice, so there's no writing on this. It is just all multiple choice. So let's go through a few of these. I'm not going to do every single one of them, but I'll go through a couple of them, especially the older ones, since it's been a while since we read those first few chapters. So what are the Hunger Games and why were they created? So the Hunger Games, remember, it's a fight to the death, and the Capitol will take one man and one woman from each of the 12 districts. And the reason they do this, the why were they created part, it is to keep people from rebelling. It's to keep them weak and sort of control them, basically. So that's a pretty simple answer. It's just a way of the Capitol, controlling the people and keeping them from rebelling and creating an uprising. Okay, the second one, why do people in the lower class, like Katniss and Gale, have a greater chance of being chosen during the reaping than those of higher classes? So this one is talking about how people like Katniss and Gale, who their families are the poorest of the poor, in order to survive, they have to put their name in more times in exchange for food, water, just supplies, things like that. But to get those supplies, they have to agree to have their name put in more, so they have a greater chance of being chosen than people who have more stuff, and they don't have to put their name in more because they already have the things they need. So that's a pretty simple answer as well, but again, you may have forgotten some of these earlier things. So what boy is chosen to represent District 12? That is Peeta Mellark. How does Katniss know him? So if you remember, at one point she was starving to death. She was sitting outside, like kind of by a tree, and he works in his parents' bakery. He sees her out there starving, and he actually ends up burning some of the bread on purpose, so that his mom makes him throw it out, and so he throws it kind of to her so that she can have something to eat. So in a way, he kind of saves her life. The next question, why does Katniss seem to dislike Haymitch? Pretty simple here. I mean, he's an alcoholic. When she first meets him, she realizes that that's pretty much all he does is drink, and he's supposed to be helping her and Peeta train. This is a life and death situation, and he doesn't seem to care right at first. He just seems, just obsessed with getting more alcohol, so that's why she doesn't like him. How are Katniss and Peeta's reactions to the cheering crowd at the Capitol different? Katniss, she doesn't even try to hide her disgust. She hates the way these people are. Like, she can barely stand to look at them. Meanwhile, Peeta is waving and smiling because he knows this is the way to get sponsors. It's not because he necessarily likes these people. It's just because he knows this is the best way that he's going to get sponsors, and that will help him in the games. Who is Cinna? What is he like? So Cinna is Katniss's stylist, basically. Designs all of her dresses and things like that she wears. He's a really great guy. He's really nice. They end up becoming friends, and he ends up becoming one of the only people she feels like she can trust while she's there. Okay, this question is another one that might be a little hard to remember, but what is ironic about Effie Trinket calling the place where Katniss grew up barbaric? So what's ironic about it, because again, barbaric means to be cruel or, horrible. Effie thinks that the place Katniss grew up, which is District 12, is barbaric, that it's cruel, that they're all dirty and gross and things like that. But what's ironic about that is that she's calling her home barbaric while helping Katniss get ready to fight to the death. So, really what Effie's doing is much more barbaric, what she's participating in. So that's what's ironic about it. And it shows how unself-aware she and the other Capitol people are, about their way of life. What weapon is Rue good at using? Will this be effective once she enters the games? Rue's weapon was a slingshot. That's what she was really good at using. No, it wasn't super effective once she entered the games. However, she was good at hiding in the trees and like going from tree to tree because she's really quiet and small, so she could get around easily. So that did help her, but not necessarily the slingshot. Okay, I'm probably going to do just a couple more. So why is Katniss in an unfortunate position when she goes to see the game makers? How does she get their attention? She's in a bad position because she's the last one to go. And you never want to be, if you're in a competition, you usually don't want to be first or last, but being last in this case, they're already very distracted by the time she gets there, and they're not even paying attention. She gets their attention by shooting an arrow through the apple that's in the pig's mouth of what they're about to eat, and it hits the back wall, and that definitely gets their attention. It also ends up getting her a really high score. During his interview, Peeta is told that he should win the games and go back home to the girl he likes. How does he react? He tells them that he can't do that he can't go back home to the girl he likes because the girl he likes came with him, meaning it's Katniss. Okay, what are the last pieces of advice that Haymitch gives Katniss and Peeta? A couple of things could be the answer here. He tells them that they don't need to get sucked into the fight at the cornucopia. He's like, don't get tempted by all the stuff they're going to have there. They're just trying to lure you into a bloodbath. You need to immediately jump off the podium and you need to run into the woods and get away. And then he says to find fresh water. The very last thing he says to them is stay alive. Does she end up following that advice? Sort of. She gets distracted by the bow and arrow, so at first she tries to go for it, but then after almost getting killed and almost taking a knife to the chest, she runs away. I'll do one more. So what 2 items does Katniss make it into the woods with after the initial fight at the cornucopia? She makes it with a backpack and then a knife. Because the boy that was killed in front of her, she took the knife out of his back. What was she hoping to get? Well, she wanted to get a bow and arrow. She also was hoping her backpack would have fresh water in it, but it didn't. Okay, and then that's where I'm going to stop. The rest of these should be fairly fresh because we've just read those. If they're not, then you'll want to review the book. If you need to review over the book, remember that is still in this week's stuff too. I'm going to go back. So here's the study guide. Right above it, as usual, is book 1, The Hunger Games. So you can go back through and kind of skim through it, maybe reread some of the final chapters if you need to. All right. If you have any other questions about this test, you can just message me on Schoology. Good luck. I hope you do well.